Okay, let's talk Hunter Biden, Joe Biden persuasion. If you have been following the news all the past few days, you understand that after months, years of President Joe Biden saying he would absolutely not be pardoning his son, no one is above the law, blah, 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 and then Karine Jean-Pierre perpetually, persistently, permanently guaranteeing there would not be a pardon for Hunter Biden. Of course, that is exactly what we get. Now, what's interesting is the persuasion lesson inside all of this that a few of you have noticed, but most of you have not. So, what the real story is officially is that Hunter has some issues with drug addiction, and there's maybe some tax evasion, and there's some gun ownership, and possibly lying on forums. This is a troubled young man. A bit of a partier. Now, everyone wants to party with Hunter Biden. Is a sort of let's say wealthy child problem, growing up in this extreme state of privilege and wealth, and all the women want you because of your status. And the temptations were too much for poor Hunter. This is the story, especially with the various ghastly, unfortunate events that have occurred the Biden family, which are very real. Let's not put those away, put those down. So it's understandable why one could develop an addiction problem. And by the way, that is the context of Hunter's response to it. Response of gratitude, pointing out that he's going to use this opportunity to better the world and do great things, etc., etc. Right? If you read Hunter Biden's response to receiving the complete, total, unconditional pardon, everything is fine. And then there's possibly what's really going on that some of you know a bit about. The pardon is a total and complete pardon going back to all crimes known and unknown, convicted and unconvicted, charged and uncharged, going back to 2014. If you follow the legal experts online, they talk about how odd it is that you would pardon going back beyond 5 years, but to 10 years. What happened in 2014? Oh, there was a Western intelligence community coup of the democratically elected government of Ukraine. Have you ever heard of Euromaidan? Most people commenting on the Russia-Ukraine conflict have no idea what happened 8 years prior with the ethnic cleansing of Russians in Ukraine. And that in the Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin, he made it clear that from his perspective, the invasion of Ukraine was a defensive response to Ukrainian aggression and oppression, including the permission of war crimes, that is, the ongoing permitting of war crimes to occur against ethnic Russians in Ukraine territory, and even open civic discrimination against Russians in Ukraine. Now, I am not here to say one way or another. I'm not Ukrainian, I'm not Russian. I have clients that are both. So I'm going to suspend my judgment on the matter. What I am telling you is you have no business talking about this if you do not understand this, much less levying an opinion either way. In 2014, we understand, now fact check me on this, it's important to fact check, even if you like me. The Ukrainian energy company, Burisma, was not 2014 the year that Hunter Biden found himself on the board? And is it not also true that we now know that the Hunter Biden laptop was real, and that it's confirmed that Hunter Biden was selling access to his father while he was vice president, Joe Biden, under the Obama administration? And is it not known that these deals benefited China, Russia, and of course Ukraine, possibly at the expense of the United States? And so when there is a pardon that goes back to that particular period, that is above and beyond anything associated with the gun issues, anything associated with the cocaine use, anything associated with it's going back that far, we have to wonder what's really going on. And we have to notice the brilliant misdirection here. You make a big public story. I'm going to use hands here. We're going to do gestures. This is a gesture show. Also a gesture show. The story is made out to be like this, even though that story, troubled son / addict has issues with the law. What are those issues? All those issues are gun ownership and taxes and maybe loose women, sex tapes. Ha ha, not illegal if consensual. Ha ha ha. By the way, there's some assertion that they were underage girls. But we're not going to talk about that in the official story. See, the official story, right? The official story being told is just about this one little narrow thing. That's kind of smart. That's kind of smart. No, that's not kind of smart. That's brilliant. Because now there was the misinformation that the Hunter Biden laptop was 51 intelligence agency former professionals said blah 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 Russian disinformation. Yeah, okay. We now know that affected the outcome in terms of voter awareness of what they were really voting for and the corruption of the Biden family. This is now known. This is now confirmed. So coming back to the persuasion lesson here, it feels a little bit grimy and dirty to point this out, but this is why I do this show, is to call out the manipulation and the persuasion that's happening. Suppose that there are crimes you are aware you committed. We'll call those crimes X, Y, and Z. Okay? Of those crimes, crime X is the most palatable, the easiest to play off, the easiest to get forgiveness for in the public mind, the easiest to rebrand yourself around, okay, the easiest to explain away, the most relatable to the most people. Crime Y that you're aware of having committed or possibly having committed, and crime Z are treason, are unconscionable, are worse than Watergate, which apparently now was an operation to oust Nixon by the military intelligence community. Stop me if you've heard that one. Yeah. The ways now to oust a president are to Kennedy them or are to Nixon them. And they tried to do both to Trump and they lost. Multiple times. With all the felonies and the indictments and the raids and the multiple impeachments and the multiple attempted assassination attempts, and of course, me being the co-author of the first and the only book, Bulletproof, that covers the assassination attempts on our president-elect Donald J. Trump, is a lot. There's a lot here. And you also realize the official story of most things is probably a lie about everything. Now, coming back to the XYZ persuasion, the Hunter Biden persuasion. Oh dear. If you talk about only crime X and you make a big fuss about only crime X, and you yet, while talking about crime X, make your solution to, your penance for, your let's say your coverage of crime X also conveniently cover crimes Y and Z, well, you're in a pretty good place then, aren't you? You're in a pretty good place. There's plausible deniability. Crimes Y and Z of the official story, they never have to appear in it. All it ever has to be is crime X. That's in it. And if you have allies in the media, well, there you go. I think about the way that corrupt people would use this. Suppose there's a wife who wants to remain married to her husband for some reason. And this is a deeply unethical wife, let's say. And let's say the wife has committed sins X, Y, and Z against her husband. So let's say maybe crime, or let's say sin X. Let's say sin X is going out partying and getting drunk, drinking too much, coming home hungover, drinking too much. The husband's not happy about it, but she's an adult, unfortunately. So she can do whatever she wants, unfortunately. So with crime or sin Y, rather, let's suppose that she was also, while out drinking and partying, engaging in adult activities with complete strangers in her husband's car. And Sin Z just so happens to compound this with the fact that while engaging in these particular activities, she contracted an STI or more, and which, because they have been distant, he hasn't had a chance to be exposed to yet. And let's say part and parcel with this is she was engaging in favors for drugs, maybe weed, let's say. You know, you have the booze and you have the weed, and it's the perfectly terrible combination. And one of the deals, let's say, didn't go well. And as a result, one of her customers, clients that she met through the club, and this is graphic, but life is graphic, okay? One of these deals went poorly, and her client slash customer was unhappy and smashed the hood of her husband's car to retaliate against her because of how angry he was. He's probably going to stop, drop, and roll out of that marriage if he's aware of all of this. This poor husband. You feel bad for this dude. Like, how could she, right? Now, suppose from her perspective, she wants to, because she likes going out spending all of his money, driving his car, and living the high life, she wants to retain access to his resources, to his loyalty, to his submission, to her will to do whatever she wants. You can already see the comparison, what she's going to do, right? She's going to come clean about her alcoholism and how that resulted in so many poor choices, like, you know, how that didn't get in the car. Well, you know, honey, I got behind the wheel. I feel so bad, you know, and I crashed into a fish-shaped object, and I feel so bad about it. You know, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to get clean or whatever. And so I'm gonna you know, go to the hospital and get quick kind of treatment I can, prescriptions for the STI, and you know, I'll certainly pay for this. And so what she can do is she can have her penance associated with sin X cover over also the consequences and outcomes of sins Y and Z, so that she never has to admit to him that she did them. That is dark, and it works. Part of, to quote my client's book, part of becoming immune to manipulation is being fully aware and having yourself exposed to how these people think. By the way, I highly recommend this book. The entire world has been subjected to a constant barrage of manipulation. Most aren't even aware. Few know how to stop it. That's why I do this show. That's why I helped Noah with this book. Because when you see this happening in public and in private, you can map it. You can also know what zero tolerance looks like. You can also know what to look for, certainly. Now, I heard from a private investigator a number of years ago that if you suspect someone in your personal life of engaging in licentious behavior, play innocent. Play it off. Meanwhile, watch everything closely. Monitor the situation. Don't spook them. Don't spook them. Part of defending against manipulation is not tipping off that you're aware it's happening to you, or that you're suspecting that it's happening to you. That's the best way, because then they can get comfortable. They can get loose. They can relax. And that's when you catch them. So if you're this poor husband, this sap, and you're becoming aware of this, that is possibly happening to you, say nothing. Act in such a way that causes the guilty party to feel like They pulled the wool over your eyes and get everything documented. Everything. The best way to defend against manipulation is to counter it with exposure. And the only way to expose it is to document it. This is a tough episode for a lot of people. Because I know that a couple of you right now are thinking about that very close, intimate relationship and what you've been going through. And you're starting to wonder, yeah, wheels are turning. And you don't like the direction that they're turning in. But that's confirmation. It's time to pay attention. You might be getting Hunter Biden right now. The best way to respond to it is to document it. And do not tip off that you know Hunter's laptop is real.